We're going to talk about how you guys got started on this whole conference of the parties, getting involved with the UN. Why are you here? What makes you want to get students involved in a bit of who you are? The audience probably knows me. I'm Baxter. I speak a lot, probably too much, arguably. But who are you guys?
Okay. Keith Peterman. I'm a professor of chemistry at York College of Pennsylvania.
And I'm Greg Foy, and I'm an associate professor of chemistry at York College of Pennsylvania.
Cool. And can you give me a little bit of history about this whole Students on Climate Change project that we got going on? I mean, I'm a part of it. I have a general idea what that is, but some more information would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I guess the best way to start is back up and think when the seed was planted. Would have been the seed actually was planted in 2009, but the concept came, or 2010. The concept started in 2009. I went to the 2009 COP 15 in Copenhagen. Try to get these numbers right. 2009 COP 15 in Copenhagen, and that was a significant COP because the reason I wanted to go is it was intended to be the one where it was going to be the post-Kyoto Protocol. It was going to be the Copenhagen Treaty.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the largest gathering of world leaders ever outside the UN at that time. They converged at the end of that meeting with their intent. It was President Obama was there, Ahmadinejad from Iran. We had Gordon Brown, England, Merkel, walking the halls. All these leaders were there, and there was great expectation.
Yeah.
So what really struck me was the youth engagement. And one thing that I guess is still in my mind is seeing a little Girl Scout from Poland, and I stopped and talked with her and actually interviewed her about why she's there, and she was wearing a shirt that said, "And how old will you be in 50 years?"
Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, "And how old will you be in 2050?" That's it. "And how old will you be in 2050?" My apologies for that. Because she would be,
Yeah.
alive and, mid-career and things like that. But what would the world be like in 2050? So we had quite a conversation about that, and she had a number of her other Girl Scout friends who were there as well. And then I saw a number of other youth groups. So when I came back, I had the idea that the American Chemical Society really should be engaged in this. We had only received accreditation as an agency 2 years before, 2007, at COP 13 in Bali.
Yeah.
We had sent one staff member there. So basically, we sent one staff member to Bali. We've been absent for 2 years. It was time for the American Chemical Society to get re-engaged. What better way than by having youth? So basically, this grew out of a project for the International Year of Chemistry, and I think I'll pass it to Greg to let him tell about how that project came to pass.
Sure. So there was an event at the Spring ACS meeting in San Francisco, and Keith attended that and was asked to chair a task force on bringing sustainability into the International Year of Chemistry.
All right.
And that task force, when he came back, he said, "Would you like to co-chair it with me?" And I readily agreed. And we started brainstorming. We talked about the ways in which we could bring sustainability into IYC 2011. We had several different ideas. One of them was a video idea, which ACS has done a little bit of that, and the other was this project that we're talking about today. And so we kind of have coined it as the COP Kids project. The more appropriate title to it is the ACS COP Student Ambassadors to the UN, right? And so been doing it since COP16, which was in Cancun. This is now we're at COP25. We've had students every year. The students are the goal of this project is to engage, and the engagement has ranged from the beginning when our students were blogging on
It was CNEN, correct?
CNE News editor's blog, right? And that was a great start, but a little cumbersome, and so students organized a website, and you guys are still carrying on that website and doing blogging, and it's grown, right? It's grown significantly. You've got Instagram and all of those wonderful social media tools that you all use, and now we're on the radio.
Yeah.
How is that? So
for you guys' reference, this is going to be aired, not live, but this recording is going to be aired to around 8,000 people each day as it goes out to our viewership. Viewership, audience. We're going to go with audience because they're not actually watching anything. Slip of the tongue, happens all the time. If there was a counter, we would never stop digging. But, so what, you talked a little bit about this girl that you talked to in Copenhagen. Was it Copenhagen?
It was in Copenhagen. Well, it was the young girl. She probably was about 14 or 15 years old. And it was not just her, but there were a number of other youth who were there. And I might note that the way Greg and I attend the COP is we attend with press accreditation. So that's how I went to the first one. So we have a blog for over a decade with the York Daily Record, York Sunday News, and I like to give them credit because it's because of them that we're able to be here and be able to, I guess, engage and try to engage a broader community. And when you think about your community audience here, one of our goals with this project really is, rather than having us as, let's say, adults or let's say professors who are talking, I don't want to say down, but they try to have the information coming from us to your demographic. The goal of this project is, just like the little girl in Poland, is to have your demographic speak with your peers. And I think that's much more effective, and you're doing it very effectively.
Yeah. It has a lot higher rhetoric value to have one-on-one interactions or one-to-many interactions of someone who you can relate to.
And that's exactly it. And I might note that it is working very well. We've had about 80 students over the years. We started out with 2 at the 2010 COP16 in Cancun. And of course, that's one where we said blogging under the editor's blog of Rudy Baum. But since that, it's grown in scope and outreach. I mean, the 10 students who were here during the 2-week period, your group at the American Chemical Society ambassadors for COP25 come from around the country, and that's been the case for the past several years. We've had a lot of outreach in terms of actually student majors, interests. So you bring a lot to the table. Some are much interested in science, some in policy, some in technology, and you're taking that information out and sharing it, I think, quite effectively through a variety of means. Social media, obviously, being a big one, blogging, but also we have the academic work that's coming up. Maybe I'll let Greg talk about that.
Yeah, so we've had 3 different publications through the ACS. We have an ongoing symposium series. The symposium series is the student presentations that are completed at each of the spring meetings. And again, that's ongoing. That's been happening for the last 10 years. Those 3 volumes are the chapters are written by the students, and so we edit those. So we serve as the editors for those chapters, and along with our co-editor, that co-editor Matt Cortez, we produce these three. So that's been the outcome of the project primarily. We do have an article in. We have an article in the undergraduate research. What is that journal again? Remember? CUR. Council for Undergraduate Research. In that journal, that was several years ago. So it's had a very significant impact on the broader academic community.
Yeah.
And we're excited that we'll continue to have that kind of impact.
One of the things I think is really neat is how you said this program has developed. You started off with 2 students in Cancun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this the record number you've had, 10 students coming, or have you had more in the past?
We actually, I think the maximum we have had in the past is 10 students. We have been limited by accreditation slots.
Right.
The American Chemical Society has gotten 4 UN accreditation slots per week for this project. So we've been able to take a maximum of 4 per week, but then actually in Paris we got reduced to 3.
And that was so we started at 5. We reduced to 4 in Paris, and then we got back up to 5 2 years ago, and then we got bumped up to 6 this year. So the accreditation slots are limited, and that's what's limited the number of students that we've had involved.
And we might note, relative to that, the American Chemical Society is the largest scientific society in the world, with over 160,000 members. They give there are 4. Well, actually, now we're now bumped up to 6. They give the 6 UN accreditation slots to the students, even though there are many others who would like to have them.
Yeah.
They see the value of this project, and therefore they reserve them for that purpose. And as I said, Greg and I are not taking up those slots because we come with press accreditation here.
So overall, what trends have you seen in this program, and where do you kind of see it moving on in the future? Like it's going to keep evolving. It's come this far. I have a strong feeling it's going to keep evolving. But where do you guys see that going?
Well, I think what we've seen in terms of trends is a more national and international involvement from the students. So the more that this program has gained momentum, the more students that have learned about it, the more students that have applied, the broader the scope.
Right.
And so when you get an international flavor, we've got you guys from Texas, from Washington, from throughout Georgia, Pennsylvania. I mean,
Virginia.
It's a pretty significant swath of the country, if you will, right? So in having that kind of broadening of the scope of it, I think that we're going to find that there are going to be a lot of ideas coming from the students.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a student project. We're the facilitators. ACS is the sponsor, but this is a student project. What we really would love to have is we would love to have this become something that is even more prestigious, that is funded. We currently, as you know, students have to find their own funding for this.
Yeah.
We're looking, ACS Environmental Division is helping us go for some grant opportunities. We're going to go for larger grant opportunities, but what we really need is a large grant to keep this thing going in the right direction.
Yeah.
The more we can support the students financially, the better the program becomes, the more outreach the students can do, the more people we're going to affect. And that's what this thing is all about. It's about having an impact on society in a positive way that brings a message that says we need to deal with the climate crisis.
Yeah.
I might note that one, if you're talking about where would we like to see it go, we'd like for it to reach an even broader demographic. Because the students who have participated in the project so far, including yourself, typically have to have strong faculty mentors at their home institution. Their home institution has to have financial opportunities, mostly institutional grants that can provide them. And all the students have gotten healthy funding from their institution.
I know. I know my home university of Angelo State. I spoke with them and they offered to pay for the flights just right off the bat. It was like, we can help you out. This is important.
And that's important. I appreciate your university for doing that because not every institution, every university or college recognize the importance of the project and the opportunity that you have to be here. What we'd like to do is we'd like to see it reach out for a broader demographic, minorities, community college students, so we can get people coming from a lot of different, I guess different backgrounds into it. And as well, Greg mentioned international. We've had a young lady, a Nepal citizen, several Canadians who participated. Canadians coming from, one is from McGill University, but again, they have
students from Kenya applied. Wasn't able to follow through because of
funding,
visa issues and funding.
We've had two situations like that. A student from Pakistan who was accepted and was all set to go, even had the funding lined up through his government, but ultimately in the end, they wouldn't release the funding for it. So he presented at the national meeting, but he never got to go here. He presented at the national meeting. He sent his, what he had been studying in Pakistan. He was the first president of the student chapter at his pedagogical university, technical university, as it was, for the student chapter of the American Chemical Society. But he sent his PowerPoint presentations. The COP students presented it there, but he never got to go just because he couldn't get the funding through his government, even though it had been all approved and set up and so forth. And the same thing to be able to come to the States. So in order to have this broad global outreach, which would be not just from prestigious universities abroad, but from those who may be less so, or have less financial resources, in the same way from college universities in the States.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and start to wrap this up a little bit, but let's get some closing thoughts. What are some highlights that you guys have seen from this COP? Either from watching the students or from just watching and seeing what's going on just in the ambiance?
Well, I think the thing that both of us are seeing, and I'm sure that Keith will have more to say on this, but I think that the thing that we're seeing is the voice of youth is rising, is taking hold, is making noise, right? That is one of the biggest impacts that I think we have witnessed over the course of the COPs that we've been coming to. And frankly, that's what we're trying to do as well, right? We're trying to give voice to youth, to your generation, so that you can be involved and you can you can help form the policy that is going to fix the problems that we're going to encounter. And I will say that over the course of, again, the project, we have had just exceptional groups of students. And this year is no exception. You guys are just highly engaged, very thoughtful, very hardworking. It is very, it's gratifying for us to see a project that we put a significant amount of our time and effort into this, and to see it shine the way we get to see it shine is it's pretty amazing. So those are my takeaways from the project and specifically from this.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is, I'm going to apologize because I don't like to use profanity, but I'll state it in the way
Don't worry, I will.
You may
I
use
will,
it because this is
I will
not so
edit
bad.
that out of the later.
No, but it is.
Beep it. Words.
Your generation is pissed. You're angry. You're upset. And in the words of former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, he stated this is the first generation to experience the adverse impacts of climate change, and this is the last generation who can fix it. And we are not down to just the last generation, we're down to the last 10 years. That's science, the economists, everybody tells us this needs to be fixed now. It's no longer a 100-year scenario or anything like that. So what we are observing is the emergency. This is no longer about climate change, it's about climate emergency. And your generation, and for all of you young people here, I encourage you to get deeply engaged, deeply involved in addressing the issue, force your politicians to address the issue. Very soon, your generation is going to outnumber, I think in the next elections, you're going to outnumber my generation in terms as a voting bloc, and you can change policy, you can have an impact, and what the outcome is that I'm seeing a major issue right now is that everyone recognizes the time to solve the issue is now. We can no longer kick the can down the road. Right?
Thank you guys for speaking, and I'm gonna wrap this up with, this is our chance, my generation's chance to actually get out, to see how these things are being done, to talk to the policymakers, to engage with them. At this conference so far, I've been able to talk with not quite the heads of state, but their representatives, their ministers of the various things. I've gotten to speak with the CEOs of companies who are at the forefront of fighting for this stuff. And we're getting to talk about it in a way that most people simply don't get the opportunity to. And thanks to people like the York Daily Record, who helps you guys get your press passes, Angelo State University, who helps me get here, and all the other associated universities. They're sponsoring us, they're supporting us, along with the American Chemical Society. And it's through all that support, and hopefully much more come in the future, that we're able to reach this global audience and try to figure out what can we do now to make the change for the future, because the time is to act. Thank you for tuning in.